everyone, and welcome to the third part of antibiotic. And today in this session we are going to speak about antibiotic classification. I am Dr. Khalid Hassan, Associate Professor of Clinical Pharmacology, Drug Therapy and Clinical Research. This slide here presents the category of antibacterial medication or antibacterial drugs. And in this slide, they divide the antibacterial to the 6 families of bacterial according to the chemical structure of antibacterial. As you can see, first we have here penicillin. Then we have first we have penicillin. Then we have cephalosporin, tetracycline, aminoglycoside, macrolide. Then we have other fluoroquinolones. Then we have other families. As you can see here, we have 7 families according to the chemical structures. This one of the maybe way to classify antibacterial medication. Another way to classify it to look on the chemical structure of antibacterial. Okay, again here antibacterial is organized in 6 families. I will repeat it: penicillin, cephalosporin, tetracycline, aminoglycoside, macrolide, fluoroquinolones. Now we move to the another category here. We talk about something else. For example, here we have another option to speak about, for example, the location or the site of action. So we have some antibiotic inhibit cell wall. We have some biotic inhibit the cell wall synthesis, and we call this one cell wall synthesis inhibitors. Another part or another group inhibit the protein synthesis. So we have protein synthesis inhibitors. The third group of antibiotic work on the nucleic acid synthesis, and we call this a group like nucleic acid synthesis inhibitor, and the last one like metabolism inhibitors. So as you can see, we have 4 main groups, but we are going to have like subdivision group or like another group is like considered like marginal group, not like main group for antibiotic. Okay, so in this slide here we try to focus on the if you look on the slide here, you can see there this is a represent like a schematic representation for the bacterial cells, as you can see it here. So this square here, I will go back. This square represent the target for the antibiotic. Okay, so now we have the target for the antibiotic. Before we go to the medication affect this target, we need to be familiar what we have on the bacterial cell wall. We look on the bacterial cell wall and we can see what we have there as a target for the bacteria for the antibiotic. Okay, we start from the beginning now. As you can see, from the outer side we have cell wall. From the outer side we have the cell wall, and the cell wall we developed drugs or medication that inhibit this cell wall. So the first group will be cell wall inhibitors. So we have antibacterial inhibit the cell wall. Then we have the protein synthesis. As you can see here, we have ribosome. Here we are talking about RNA. And we have RNA transfer RNA, we have messenger RNA, so we have mRNA, and then we have tRNA, and this will be target for our medication later on. We're going to speak about that later on. So for protein synthesis, we are speaking about RNA, and for the RNA, as you can see here, we have 2 main types for RNA. We have 50S subunit and 30S subunit protein or RNA responsible for the synthesis of messenger RNA. Okay, we need to remember this subunit, 50S subunit and 30S subunit, to differentiate it from the human subunit. We have 60 and 40 subunit in the human. Okay, this is the first group here. Like we have some antibacterial work on the cell wall. We call cell wall inhibitors. Then we have RNA responsible for synthesis of protein, and we have subunit RNA 50S and 30S subunit. For this reason here, as you can see, we have protein synthesis inhibitor. Any medication affect the RNA synthesis, we call this one like a protein synthesis inhibitor. So the second group will be protein synthesis inhibitor. Okay, moving to the third group of medication. As you can see here, the bacterial cells able to synthesize folic acid. So the bacterial cells synthesize folic acid. So what happened here? Started the synthesized folic acid from the something called para-aminobenzoic acid, and para-aminobenzoic acid will maybe trans convert to the tetrahydrofolic acid. Here we have two enzymes. We are going to speak about this enzyme later on, enzyme 1 and enzyme 2. Okay, and these two enzymes responsible for synthesis of tetrahydrofolic acid. So we have some medication, some group of antibacterial inhibit metabolism. So we have metabolism inhibitor. So this is the third group now. So the first group will be cell wall inhibitor. The second group will be protein synthesis inhibitor. The third group will be metabolism inhibitor. Moving to the another group of medication, another important group of medication, and this group of medication affect the nucleic acid function and synthesis. Here we are talking about DNA and part of the RNA polymerase. So we have some antibiotic affects synthesis of nucleic acid. So here we are talking about DNA. So in the group number 4 here, we are speaking about nucleic acid function synthesis inhibitors. So we are looking for the medications inhibit nucleic acid function, and we call this one nucleic acid function DNA synthesis inhibitors. This is group number 4. So this is a 4 main group for the antibacterial. If you go back again, cell wall inhibitor, number 1, protein inhibitor, nucleic acid inhibitor, metabolism inhibitor. Then they said, okay, we have some medication. This is number 5 here. We have some group of medication belong to the cell membrane inhibitor. So we are going to discuss this in details, and we are going to list and place the medication on this image or this graph in the next slide. Okay, by looking on this slide here, on this image, this picture, what we can see here, you can see here the maybe the placement of the antibacterial. So if you start looking on the maybe the cell wall inhibitor here, we have beta-lactam, the cell wall inhibitor for beta-lactam. Okay, so by looking on the cell wall inhibitor here for the medication work on the cell wall inhibitor, we have a group of medication called beta-lactams, and we can add S here, beta-lactams. We have vancomycin, then we can add here other also. So we have other group of medication belong to the cell wall inhibitor. Beta-lactam, the main group, followed by vancomycin. Then we have others such as daptomycin and other medication. The second group of medications we are discussing like metabolism inhibitors. We have trimethoprim sulfonamide. The third group we have protein synthesis. We have list of medication. This is the most important group after the beta-lactam. This is number 1. This is the most important group. Number 2, protein synthesis. Number 3 also is important. So speaking about protein synthesis inhibitor, we have aminoglycoside, tetracycline, macrolide, clindamycin, chloramphenicol, linezolid. So this is a list of medication considered like protein synthesis inhibitor affecting 30S subunit and 50S subunit. So we are going to speak about that in details in the next slides, later, not now. Next, we already mentioned the metabolism inhibitor. We have 2 medication, trimethoprim sulfonamide. Regarding the nucleic acid synthesis inhibitor, we have fluoroquinolones, rifampin, nitrofurantoin. Last group here, as additional group for us, cell membrane inhibitor, we have isoniazid, amphotericin, daptomycin, polymyxin. So we have list of medication belong to this group. So from this slide here, we need we need to remember which medication belong to which group. For example, beta-lactam inhibits cell wall. Beta-lactam inhibits the cell wall. Fluoroquinolones inhibit nucleic acid. Rifampin inhibit nucleic acid. Aminoglycoside, and aminoglycoside work on the RNA protein. Tetracycline work on the RNA protein, but we need to remember which subtype, 50S or 30S subunit. We are going to discuss that later later on. Okay. Now we already covered the category, the main category, by listing the group of medication according to the site of action, cell wall, protein, nucleic acid, and so on. Okay, regarding the first group of medication, we are going to speak about the first group of medication, the important maybe class of antibacterial or antimicrobial. The first group maybe belong to the cell wall. The first group belong to the cell wall inhibitor. Cell wall inhibitor, we have a group of medication belong to the beta-lactam. Then we have others. So here we have some maybe controversial antibiotic. We can put it in the cell wall or cell membrane, but anyway, we need to focus on the vancomycin, for example, teicoplanin, and other medication. Speaking about beta-lactam antibiotic, this is an important group for us. Penicillin, cephalosporin, carbapenem, monobactam. I will repeat it. Beta-lactam antibiotic, we have penicillin, cephalosporin, carbapenem, monobactam. Uh, and the other bacteria, vancomycin, the important one in this maybe list, then followed by bacitracin. So vancomycin, bacitracin, the most important group of most important antibiotic in this list. And in common in the practice, we have daptomycin, fosfomycin, polymyxin, and so on. We have some group of medication. It does not consider like antibiotic, but consider like enzyme inhibitor. So we have clavulanic acid, sulbactam, tazobactam. This is a beta-lactamase inhibitor. What they found there, the bacteria start producing some enzyme, and this enzyme destroy the beta-lactam link. Okay, the bacteria produce enzyme. This enzyme destroys the beta-lactam ring. Therefore, the scientists, the lab researcher developed some group of medication that inhibit this enzyme. So this medication, clavulanic acid, sulbactam, tazobactam, inhibit the enzyme produced by the bacteria, and we call this one beta-lactamase inhibitor. So beta-lactamase is not a real antibiotic. We don't use it alone. We need to use it in combination with penicillin, in combination with cephalosporin to protect this antibiotic from cleavage by the enzyme produced from the antibacterial. Okay, so this three group here. Speaking about the group of medication belong to the beta-lactam, as you can see here, we have penicillin. We have a list of medication belong to the penicillin. Then we have cephalosporin. We have 5 generation, first, second, and third, fourth, and fifth generation. We are going to speak about every characteristic for each generation. Carbapenem, we have imipenem, meropenem, ertapenem, doropenem. Then we have monobactam, azithromycin. So you can see here the beta-lactam ring. This beta-lactam ring, maybe the main constitution of the beta-lactam antibiotics. Therefore, we have, as we mentioned in the previous slide, we have some bacteria start producing beta-lactamase. So some bacteria produce enzyme called beta-lactamase, and this enzyme destroy this ring here. And this bacteria become resistant to the antibiotic. Okay, so please here remember here we have 4 main group belong to the beta-lactams. Beta-lactams antibiotic. We have penicillin, cephalosporin, monobactam. Okay, we have penicillin, cephalosporin, carbapenem, monobactam. And the penicillin, we have the next slide. We give you a list of medication belong to the penicillin. Cephalosporin, we have 5 generation. Carbapenem, 4 medication. Imipenem, meropenem, ertapenem, doripenem. For monobactam, 1 medication only. We have azithromycin. Okay, regarding the penicillin, as you can see here, we have a group of medication. We are going to have like another category for that, for the beta-lactam. We are going to have another category, as you can see here. We have the penicillin G, penicillin V, and amoxicillin, ampicillin, oxacillin, decloxacillin, cloxacillin, fluoxacillin. Then we have methicillin. So a group of medication belong to the penicillin. Start with according to the history and discovery. Penicillin G, penicillin V, ampicillin, amoxicillin, cloxacillin, decloxacillin, and so on. Okay, cephalosporin, we have 5 generation, as you can see here. We have cevadroxil for talk about first generation, cevadroxil, cevadroxil, and cevalexin, cevalotine. Second generation, we have cevuroxim, cevbrozil, cevaclor, cevotitan, cevoxetine, cevomandol. For third generation, we have the most important medication in the third generation: ceftriaxone, ceftazidime, cefotaxime, cefixime, cefdinir. Uh, this is repeated here. So this is the most important medication in this third generation. The fourth generation here we have cevibime. Generation number 4 we have one medication, cevibime, and other maybe textbook they merge together fourth and fifth generation. For generation number 5, fifth generation, we have ceftaroline and ceftobiprole. So ceftaroline, the most important one, and ceftobiprole, now a new antibiotic, belong to the fifth generation cephalosporin. So the question here, ceftriaxone belong to which generation of cephalosporin? So if you answer the third generation, you are correct. So ceftriaxone belong to the third generation cephalosporin. Cevibime belong to which generation of cephalosporin? Fourth generation, cevibime. Okay, what about cefbrozil? Cefbrozil belong to the third generation. What about ceftaroline? Ceftaroline, fifth generation. So we need the maybe we need to be familiar with that generation, what the drug name belongs to each generation. And the next coming slide, we are going to be familiar with the broad spectrum for each. So what type of bacteria will be covered by this antibiotic? Okay, thank you so much for your listening. In this brief lecture, we covered the classification of antibiotics. We talked about the classification according to the chemical structures. We speak about the antibacterial according to the chemical structure. Then we have another category according to the mechanism of action and site of action. These categories include the cell wall inhibitor. We have beta-lactam. Then we have nucleic acid inhibitor. With the nucleic acid, we have fluoroquinolone, rifampin, and other medication. Then we mentioned a group of medication work on the protein synthesis, RNA, messenger RNA, or transfer RNA. We have in this list, we have aminoglycoside, tetracycline, and another medication. Moving to the metabolism inhibitor, we already discussed the trimethoprim, sulfamethoxazole, and the last one, cell membrane. We mentioned there in the cell membrane, isoniazid and amphotericin. So the next lecture we are going to start speaking about the inhibitor of cell wall synthesis, and the first group of medication we are going to cover in the next session will be penicillin. And we have a very interesting topic about penicillin. What is the new, what is the update, to how the bacteria resist, what is the broad spectrum, how the penicillin work on the cell membrane. Until now, thank you so much for your listening and watching this channels, and have a great day.